confirmation of recording. Am I supposed to put it?
Yes, and I think you're free to move forward.
All right, I see it's recording now. Welcome to the what we like to call the pre-Thanksgiving meeting of the Raleigh Historic Development Commission. It's Tuesday, the 16th of November, 2021. Roll call.
All right, that's going to be me. All right. Gaston Williams.
Here.
Curtis Kasefin.
Here.
Heather Leo.
Here.
Ian Dunn.
Here.
John Reese.
Here.
Katie Pate.
Here.
Janine McAuliffe.
Here.
Sandy Feaster.
Here.
Susan Singer.
Here.
Travis Bailey.
Here.
Harold Millette. And Vershay Height.
We expect Harold and Vershay to be joining us shortly. We do have a quorum, so we'll proceed. Is Catherine Hill on the audio? No? Raz?
Gaston, I am. I don't see Catherine. I was expecting her, but at this point, I don't see her.
All right, so Robin Tatum is not going to be on this call, right? As far as-
Correct.
Okay.
And y'all, I'm having trouble with my video camera setting. I don't have any problem being just audio. That might be a blessing.
Well, hang in there and keep working because we like to see your bright, shiny face. Okay, first item is to approve the agenda, and I have one modification. I'd like to add it to the 12A at the end under a discussion item. I'd like to just hear a sentence or two, Ian, from you about your observation about 573 East Lenore Street so that we could put that in the record and alert the commission as to what might be going on there. Other than that one addition, anybody else have anything they want to add to the agenda? All those in favor of using the agenda with the one addition I just made, signify by raising your hand. The agenda for today's meeting is agreed to. I hope that you've gotten a file attachment of the October minutes. It's a PDF file that was attached to the agenda. Everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from last month's meeting, which was the pre-Halloween meeting. All right. Any additions or corrections to the minutes as submitted and to the board, to the commission? Seeing no faces, all those in favor of approving the minutes as submitted, with raise your hand, please. And okay, we have a unanimous vote on that. Now,
Gaston may need a second on the approval of the minutes.
you want a second?
Don't mind.
Okay, the motion's made by John Reese. It's second by Heather. And all those in favor of approving the minutes, raise your hand again. Okay. All right. On to the Lustron House. We have good news. As you probably know from your emails, it's been sold. And we've received the funds and they've been dispersed or being dispersed. And so we'll have some more money in our revolving fund. We have a very brief 1, 2, 3 on that this morning, I think. And I'm on base for this. So, Aaron, if you can share your screen.
Sure, one moment.
Okay.
And Gaston, before we move into this item, Don let me know that Catherine Hill has joined us now in the meeting. Don, can you promote her to panelist?
Yes, one moment.
Thank you.
Catherine, you're now a panelist.
As you know, we've talked about the Lustron House probably for every meeting everybody's been in for the last memorable period of time. This is a brief overview of what happened and what we did and what happened to the money. This clever crew was out there trying to suppress weeds and clean up the yard 20 months ago or so. So anyway, second slide, please. The Lustron houses is, as you may know, and it's really interesting history, they were prefabricated buildings. They were made with steel panels that would attach to a frame. And they were after World War II, there was a housing shortage. And a lot of troops returning who really just wanted to heal and weren't particularly interested in a stick-built house. And this was considered an affordable opportunity with low maintenance, convenience, quickly could be assembled. And anyway, but fewer than 2,700 were built between 1947, 1950, and only 39 were sold in the state of North Carolina. The exterior walls are akin to commercial baking sheets or bathtubs with a baked-on enamel surface, and they all come apart like a toy set. Our particular Lustron house is one of the very rare surviving Lustron homes that we know in North Carolina for sure, and probably in the area. So we look forward for it being preserved. Next slide, please. How did we do it? The original owners were Jesse and George Morris, and apparently Jesse and George were a unique couple who were quite artistic, among other things, and had almost a farm-like piece of land. The house was sold to a developer in 2017 and threatened with demolition. PNC and RHDC worked together to combine our resources and our creativity. And we took some money out of the revolving funds from the city, and they were used to move the house and place it on a new foundation pending sale and restoration. The moving day was September of 2017. It was quite a sight. The framework of the house and one of the sculptures that George made were literally brought down the road. And the lot was already owned by the city, part of the program where they occasionally acquire pieces of property. After the house was settled in, the storage unit was brought in because all the panels that make up the house had to be stored somewhere and saved. Next slide, please. So how'd the deal and how it was a little complicated, but revolving fund we tapped into for $100,000, which was capital. PNC used $60,000 to disassembly and move it, and the city sold the house for technical reasons to PNC with historic preservation covenants, and then PNC sold it to Owen Gwynn of Chapel Hill for $190,000 with covenants and a rehabilitation agreement. So this house will be rehabbed and then probably resold at some point. The closing was just Tuesday, November 9th, 2021, day that most of the staff and half the people over at PNC are very happy about. The net result is PNC received $15,000 for marketing and easement maintenance. $80,000 went back to the housing and neighborhoods for the lot, and $100,000 was returned to the revolving fund administered by RHDC. So we repaid the fund, and there's a view of what it looks like. Well, except for the storage container, it kind of looks like a steel garage, but it's far more importance in history and in preservation of this than just a steel garage. On the right is not the best one I could pick off the internet, but I found this one, and some of them are more elaborate than this. They have about 3 or 4 floor plans, and they've been configured differently. So any questions about the 1, 2, 3? It's still there, and we look forward to seeing it as it is restored. So we have something on our walking tour that we put together in the near future. We'll have something to send people by to see an actual artifact, so to speak. All right, on to demolition by blah, blah, blah. Do I have anything else? That's it. Demolition by neglect case, just real quick. I want to make sure that Mr. Bostic Joseph Kent Bostic is present.
This is Aaron. He is with us, yes.
Okay. All right, great. And let's proceed. There's a report associated with this item. If you'll look down in your minutes, you should have seen a report on this. Hang on, let's see if I missed anything. All right. If you take a peek at your, I had my pages out of order. Who's, Ian, are you going to walk us through this, or is staff going to walk us through the 4 items that are associated with this?
Either one. I'm not sure what you want me to say.
Well, we'll take a look at the first reported item involving you prepared a memo on behalf of the committee that went out and looked at the site, 803 Glenwood Avenue. Aaron, we might need a brief introduction to this. We have a report, and we have some standards, procedures, and some other issues.
Sure. So this is part of our UDO review requirements. This is a demolition by neglect case for 803 Glenwood Avenue. On October 30th of this year, 3 of our RHCDC commissioners performed an exterior assessment of the house, which is a contributing resource in the Glenwood Brooklyn Historic Overlay District. And the owner of the property, Joseph K. Bostic, was in attendance. The committee concluded that the current condition of the house violates specific items. I believe they're enumerated in the report, 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, and 12 of section 11.8.5A of the City of Raleigh Unified Development Ordinance, as outlined in Article 11.8, which is the demolition by neglect of historic landmarks and structures within historic overlay districts section. So Ian, if you've got anything you'd like to add from the report, if you want me to share anything, I'd be happy to. It's all available on board docs as well.
I don't have anything to add other than what I put in the report.
Okay, and we'll incorporate the report into their minutes so that what we saw is going to be visible. Is everybody able to either open or click down through the file attachments to this section of our minutes? The documents just pop right up. John Reese was present also on when we went out on October 30th. John Reese, do you have anything to amplify to the written reports or statements that Ian just made? Right. Aaron, is this appropriate does Mr. Bostic have something to say briefly, or is this an appropriate time for that?
This is an appropriate time, definitely. So if you'd like to recognize him to speak, Don, could you unmute Kent Bostic?
Hey, can you hear me?
You step a little closer to your microphone, it'd be useful. Mr. Joseph Kent Bostic is the owner of this property, and what we learned from our brief session with him, this is a family property of some significance to him. Mr. Bostic,
Can you hear me now?
have the floor for a limited amount of time.
Can you hear me now?
Absolutely better. Thank you.
Oh, good. I plan to sell the house. I've been working cleaning it up. I plan to tear down the garage. I'm putting through permits for that. As soon as I get the permits, I'm going to take down the garage and put the house up for sale. What more do you need to know? It's been in my family for 3 generations. I don't know whether I want to get into the why question or not. If you really want it, I'll be glad to talk with you about it. But I am intent on getting rid of it. I need to move it on. I feel like the next owner needs to take care of making the decision whether it comes down or whether they're going to redo it.
Okay, and Mr.
I
Bostic,
don't have a lot more. Do you have questions for me?
Ian, John Reese, or others? Does somebody know the answer to the question? If we move to, as suggested by the, determine that it is undergoing demolition by neglect on motion of this at this meeting, that really doesn't affect Mr. Bostic's plans, right? He can proceed to do what he wishes to do to dispose of this house, or to sell this house, excuse me.
But what does it do to the next owner?
Yes, and this is Aaron. That's correct. If basically the action item here is whether or not to move forward with the next step of the city's demolition by neglect procedures as laid out in the UDO. And that, at least as far as it pertains to the RHDC portion, is attached in Board Docs as well. Essentially, the next step will be, it moves into the Housing and Neighborhoods Department to basically do what they do as a department. The next item will be what amounts to, I believe it's referred to as a hearing. It's essentially a meeting with Housing and Neighborhoods that we as staff would attend to provide additional guidance on historic resources, information on tax credits, PNC, things like that, as it moves through to the next phase. It's essentially just keeps the ball moving forward.
Would it be an option and wise of us to consider delaying a decision on this matter till mid-January 2022, and then move forward at date certain by the motion we make? You know, it could be a time, you could say on January 15th, 2022, we hereby approve this moving forward for an action by determination of demolition by neglect, to give Mr. Bostic an opportunity to do what he wants to do, which is sell it without this, he perceives the cloud hanging over his head. We may differ on that, but to open the door for him to do that.
Yes, I would appreciate that.
January 15th work for you just as a target date, Mr. Bostic?
Yes, it does.
Could I have a motion from the commission that we, however you want to phrase it, the gist of this is this: after January 15th, we are authorizing the demolition by neglect proceedings to begin.
Fair enough.
There's a motion by Mr. Reese to that effect. Second. Tri-seconds, with quad seconds. Bailey, Pate, Case-Fang, and Dunn were tied for the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of this motion, please signify by raising your hand. The vote is without dissent. Everybody's in agreement. Mr. Bostic, the staff would love working with you, and some of us would love working with you. As we talked to you the day we were visiting your home, we understand your emotional attachment to this dwelling. We wish you the best of luck, and we'd be glad to offer our opinion and advice on anything related to historic preservation and how you might use that to enhance your sale.
Thank you very much for your help.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to a rezoning case, and I think this is just being received as information at this point, is it not? But let's proceed to.
This is Aaron, yes, you're correct. As an update, this is an anticipated city-initiated rezoning for several lots along East Cabarrus and South Bloodworth Street. Two of those lots are located in the Prince Hall HOD. As of yet, the actual rezoning application has not been filed, so we won't be making an official recommendation today, but the case planner, Matt Clem, has agreed to come and provide a presentation of what they're planning to file, so that you all can gather questions in preparation for when it comes back.
Matt, you're on deck. Let's hear from you.
All right, thanks. This is Matt Clem, City Planning. We'll get the slides up here. This is a case where the city owns several properties. The city council has directed us to rezone these properties and get them ready for sale to create affordable housing, essentially. So if we go to the next slide, these are the 8 lots. 2 of the lots on Bloodworth Street, which are the ones that probably mostly concern you, are currently zoned with the Historic Overlay District, the Prince Hall HOD. We're maintaining that zoning, so the HOD zoning will stay in place. Several of the lots are in an existing planned development district, and we're just rezoning basically all of the lots to 3-story building height limits. with residential and downtown mixed-use based zoning districts. There are two different frontages as well. And if we go to the next slide, I think we can look at the map. So the lots up to the north, those are the two on Bloodworth Street. They're in the HOD. We're maintaining the HOD overlay.
Matt, what color is those?
I'm sorry?
What color are those, or are you seeing them in color? Is that the light blue or is that the pink?
So there's, if you see, there's a, the lots to the north are pink and burgundy. And then there's the two lots that are outlined with yellow squares. Do you see those?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so those are the two lots. One of them is completely within the PD, which is the pink. And then the southern of those two is split zoned between downtown mixed use, 3-story detached detached frontage and the PD. So what we're doing with those two lots is just making them the same zoning as the rest of that block. So downtown mixed use, 3-story building height limit, detached frontage, maintaining the historic overlay district. So that whole block will be the same zoning except for the one lot to the north, which we don't own. And then on the southern grouping of lots, that's the other 6 lots outlined in yellow. They're split between the pink PD color, and there's a little sliver in there actually of R10. There's a little yellow piece. So we're turning all of that. We're going to rezone that to RX3, residential mixed use, 3-story height limit, with an urban limited frontage. So it'll be the same zoning as the other part of that block. So it'll be that same orange color. If you go to the next slide, you can see the lots, I believe.
Ariel.
Yeah, aerial, yeah. So they're all undeveloped. Next slide. So here we are at the Bloodworth lots. The house to the left is the Rogers Cottage. The house to the right is another historic house that was moved to this property. That was a city-owned property and a city-owned structure. We moved the house there and sold it to the current property owner via an upset bid process. What we're going to do with these two lots, the plan is working with housing and neighborhoods and putting out an RFP, which is a request for proposals to do probably a long-term land lease. The city will maintain ownership of the property, rent it to a future owner operator, and they can develop a small multi-unit affordable housing structure and rent it out to folks at a below market rent. And any building that gets built back on this site will go before the RHDC for a certificate of appropriateness. So when we do a solicitation for that public-private partnership to do affordable housing here, all of the potential bidders will know about the forthcoming process to work with RHDC, and they'll know that any structure they build back here is going to have to receive a certificate of appropriateness and have those architectural components that match the the character of the historic district. We'll go to the next slide. These are the other lots. There are 6 lots here. The 2 furthest ones at the far end are most likely to be sold through an upset bid process. That's because there's some retaining walls and staircases and some topography on those sites, and clearing and prepping them adds pretty significant costs that reduces our ability to use the sites for an affordable housing project. So the 2 farthest sites are likely to be sold. The remainder of it, which is most of the field you see here, is also likely to be a land lease situation, again, where the city maintains ownership. This is not in a historic district. It is nearby, but our request here is to just zone these properties for 3-story building heights. And if you go to the next slide, here, this is the process. So we've had the first neighborhood meeting. We're going to submit our application probably in the next week or 2, and then we'll have a staff review, planning commission, city council review. I can take any questions. That's all the slides that I have.
A quick question. I looked at the slide that has all the lots listed. All
Mhm.
these are going to be sold or developed as an intention for low-income housing. Are any of them grouped together to be sold to a developer or anything like that?
There are two that are the southernmost on East Street, which are probably 510 and 514 East. Let me look. Because those two are, hold on one second, let me make sure I got the right ones.
That's two of the five, right? Six.
Two of the six. The southernmost ones are, let's see, 514 Southeast. Yeah, those bottom two and potentially the third one are likely to be sold or could be sold in the upset bid process, meaning the city will just put them out for sale and we'll sell them that way. The lots to the north, the three that are at the corner, is probably where the city is going to maintain ownership and do a long-term land lease, meaning we'll own the property forever and we'll lease it back to some developer or affordable housing provider at a lease of like $1 a year, meaning the land value that they have to invest into a project is very low. So they're just paying for construction materials, labor, and maintenance over, a 30-year period. And because they don't have to buy this very expensive property, the city owns it, they can rent these units at something much cheaper than they would be able to if they had to buy the very expensive real estate. And
Gotcha.
we can, as we maintain ownership, we can require the target and the income levels that those units are rented for. And so that's just part of our affordable housing strategy.
Hey, Matt, when we hear from you again, what's your projection that the city will have its paperwork in order so that they can run it for information bias or whatever we need?
Yeah, I mean, nothing is really going to change in the information that I'm giving to you. So I won't have any additional information. This is what we're going forward with. So we can send you the application when it's completed. It'll probably be in the next couple of weeks. I can come back and give you the same run through if you'd like,
No.
or you can give us your comments, whatever you feel is best.
Yeah, this is just information for us anyway. But I would like
Gaston, this is Aaron. When the application is officially submitted, we'll also be preparing a staff memo for the rezoning.
Gotcha. Thank you.
There you go.
All right, that'll help. I'm just curious as to whether these are individually going to be developed or whether there's somebody who wants to buy them in the background unless there's an upset bid. So I just wanted to know that.
Yeah, Gaston, and what we'll do once the process is complete, we'll issue an RFP, which is a public facing process, and the city council will choose who gets awarded those properties, but all of that will happen at public meetings and that'll be public facing. So
Okay. Well, Matt, thanks for your presentation and the concise
Gaston?
overheads were helpful to see the issue. Anybody have any further questions?
Yeah,
Yes.
quick question.
Curtis first, then Katie.
Okay. Just looking at I noticed the whole historic district is DX3, which makes these properties just consistent with the historic district. But one thing's kind of inconsistent if we look at the built historic district is they're all two and a half story structures at most. So I just hope that in informing the developer of what becomes available on these two properties when sold, they understand they're not planning on a 3-story structure, because chances are in COA, since they're going to be asked to follow the build pattern of the rest of the neighborhood, it would be a 2 to 2.5 story max. So that's just a concern for what it's worth. But the X3 is consistent with the rest of the historic district.
Curtis, and the rest, is it a way to view this in my terms that the city controls the sale and the development, but when they get ready to do anything on the lots, if it's in a historic district, it'd come before us.
Right.
For DRAC review and COA and anything else that was required our comment. We could actually have be able to comment then.
That's right.
Okay. Matt, thank you very much. Katie. Sorry, Katie.
No worries. Thanks, Gaston. I just wanted to relay a question I got from an attendee via chat. David Serksner was curious if anyone has done a deed trace on the lot so the new owner can know who has lived on the lots in the past.
We have not done that, but we can look into that and see. Do you know, is there a specific, other than a list of names who have owned the properties, is there some other goal there that you know?
They said, just curious because I always think it's interesting to know who owned something in the past.
Okay. Yeah, we can look that up. And I can send some information to Aaron to share.
All right.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions on this informational item? Yes, Susan, I see your hand.
Thanks. Katie, I'm glad David brought that up because it could turn out to be something when we do this tour that you referred to, Gaston. We actually stop by and say, these are the people who lived. I mean, we've lost the structures, obviously, but the idea that this city was made up of a lot of work from other people would be really an interesting piece to have. So please thank David for delivering that information. It's great value. And we really want to know who lived in those places.
Okay. Seeing no other hands, we're going to move on to item C, the recombinations recorded plats. There are no items under that category that I see. Where am I? I lost my spot. Right-of-way closures, there are none. Certificate of local government duties, historic landmark designation for the Mordecai Whitehall House. I believe there's a presentation regarding the property at 1322. And the research committee has done some work, and there's a recommendation that we vote to recommend this to City Council that it be referred to the Department of Cultural and Natural Resources, Division of Archives and History for analysis and comments to authorize a joint public hearing.
Yes, and that is all correct. So I have a brief presentation and statement of significance to read, and then we will recognize the chair of the research committee, Susan Singer, to make an official motion.
Sounds great.
Committee. So let me get the screen up. All right, so we are reviewing the proposed Raleigh historic landmark for what's being called the Mordecai Whitehall house at 1322 Mordecai Drive. The Mordecai Whitehall at 1322 Mordecai Drive is architecturally significant as an excellent and intact example of a Sears kit house design known as the Whitehall. In the early 20th century, many companies began to produce and promote kit houses, standard plans for which materials were shipped and assembled. Of these, the Sears Roebuck and Company was the most prolific. Its 1939 catalog claimed that over 100,000 people lived in a Sears home. The Whitehall model was first offered in 1912 and thereafter intermittently until 1926. In 2013, the city of Raleigh commissioned a historical context and argument for designation of kit houses. The report observes that the proliferation of kit homes in Raleigh coincides with a period of explosive residential growth and development. In the context document, the house at 1322 was one of 12 houses specifically profiled. The Mordecai Whitehall meets the following criteria established in the context document. The home can be authenticated as a genuine kit home from an established kit home company, is an example of particular kit home model, largely maintains its original massing, floor plan, style, and/or materials, or some compelling combination thereof, and is located in one of Raleigh's early suburbs, helping to document the city's period of growth in the early 20th century and the heyday of the kit home industry. Also of note, the house appears to have been built by developer Virginia Newsom Noel, who lived from 1892 to 1960. Between 1922 and 1923, Mrs. Noel purchased 60 lots in Mordecai Place. The News and Observer observed that in 1926, during the 2 years in which Mrs. Noel was active as a builder here, she constructed around 50 residences and apartment houses, ranging in price from $5,000 to $50,000. Though her career as a developer seems to have been brief, the history of this house includes the impact of entrepreneurial women like Virginia Noel in Raleigh's growth and development. Now recognize Susan, if you're prepared to make a motion.
Sure, it's my first chance. I'm very excited. Okay, I move that the Mordecai Whitehall House at 1322 Mordecai Drive has the requisite special significance to be designated a Raleigh Historic Landmark, and that we request the City Council refer the application to the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources for its analysis and comments, and authorize a joint public hearing.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Katie Pate seconds. Just one discussion item. Aaron, I'd be fascinated if you if someone on staff has already dug up some information on Virginia Noel. I'd like to know more. I think this is a potential subject that we should know a little more about. She seems to have been a woman of substance who, in that time period, developed 6 homes, apparently successfully, chose their design well, and from all appearances, they're remarkable. So
Yes,
if anybody knows anything more about Virginia, let us know.
Yeah, I agree. We were very interested to find that information too. I think it was brought to us by our architectural historian preparing the final report.
Well, I think that kind of information is just the kind of information that Raleigh Hidden History and some others really like to dig into, and it adds a whole element to the downtown area that I didn't know about before. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye, raising your hand. All those opposed, the motion is carried unanimously. Community Awareness Committee reports. Item 6, on the agenda. I think this goes to Heather.
So just briefly, we wanted to bring to the whole commission that we're working on the 60th anniversary event. And we've been talking about it in community awareness, but we wanted to kind of make sure this is something everyone, should be involved with. And in times before COVID, we would go to events and commissioners would come volunteer. It wasn't just community awareness. And obviously with COVID, things have changed a little bit. So, but we're hoping to be able to have an in-person event. We're looking at doing our 60th anniversary this spring. I believe we were looking at May.
We were.
Yes.
Yes.
And we have some ideas that we've been kicking around, but we kind of wanted to just let the commission know and also request your ideas. And you don't have to have any off the top of your head today, but you can email them in. I'll send out an email to everyone so that you'll have this all in one space, and then you guys can respond with any ideas and thoughts you have. But we just wanted to bring it up during the meeting so you would know to look for it. But we're talking about everything from maybe like a walking tour or a bike tour to maybe having a talk in the park, maybe at Moore Square or at a historic site. We would like to have an event that potentially could go virtual if things aren't as clear as we hope they'll be in May as far as the pandemic. We're also planning to bring back the collectible Raleigh history cards, and we want to talk about other swag and giveaways. We'd also like to talk about maybe a hashtag for the event or even a social media game, something like hashtag this place matters and getting people to go and take pictures with landmarks. So we're talking about all of that kind of stuff. We're also brainstorming which card, like if we want to create one special card for our 60th anniversary of a historic place, should it be the oldest building in Raleigh or the oldest historic landmark, or some other sort of, place of significance and importance, because it's going to be, the special card for our 60th anniversary. So I'll send an email out but it's just something for you guys to be aware of, that we're working on our 60th anniversary event, and any kind of planning and organizing around that. We'll need volunteers, hopefully, to help with things when the time comes. But for now, we're just looking for just your ideas and suggestions. So I'll send out an email with kind of what we have so far, and we can just reply to that, I think, if that works for everyone.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Moving on to, any questions about the reports from community awareness? And, you know, when she sends out this email, we just want one idea. We can get more, but just one idea we haven't thought of, because we wrestled with venue, splash, cost, all that stuff, bathrooms. We were thinking about something out of the box so that'd be interesting and maybe draw people.
Yeah.
All right. We even talked about, never mind. We'll brief you later when we meet again. Research. How you been, research?
We've been good. I don't really have anything to report. I did my motion. That's my great contribution.
I
But
want
we're,
to know that you did a very fine job on that motion this morning. I appreciate it. You got all that technical language that I think is required.
we have a new member of our committee. David has joined us, already contributed to this meeting, and we're delighted to have him, and we're moving forward. I do have one kind of, I don't know if this is right, Gaston, you can shoot me down if it isn't, please feel free. I'm also involved in the Historic Oakwood Preservation Group, and we're looking at moving a historic house to some property, and we were told that Tanya's been told about this, and I'm just wondering, Aaron, if you know anything about that, or if somebody at the RHDC knows something about Oakwood moving a house to a piece of property, and if there is some knowledge there, if you could share it with the rest of us, at least the research committee, it would be great, because if we're looking at a house that Oakwood could move, maybe there's some opportunities. Maybe this gentleman who was just on our meeting this morning, maybe his house is one. I don't know. So I just am wondering what the RHDC knows about this.
So you'd like staff to send us a memo of what they know, if anything, about a house being relocated within Oakwood?
I think it's within Oakwood, yes. And I know Oakwood is looking at creating this and funding it. So, and they said they've spoken to Tanya about it.
Oh, good. Tanya's away on vacation, so we'll.
Right. Well, I'm bringing it up because I'll forget, so.
I think the house is actually coming from outside of Oakwood into Oakwood is their intent.
Yeah, this is Erin. I am familiar with a conversation that.
Hang on one second, just for the record, please. Raz, make your comment, and then I'm going to go to Erin. Raz, would you?
Yes, Gaston, I'm here. I'm not on video. Can you offer that to me one more time?
Oh, hang on. Maybe it was Curtis. Curtis, you just spoke up. I just want the record to be clear. It was
okay. No, I just believe that it's coming from outside of Oakwood into Oakwood.
Okay, and you'll set us straight, I think.
So this is Erin. Susan, yes, when Tanya gets back from vacation, I will bring this up with her and make sure that the research committee is updated. I think it's not uncommon in the past that Wood has relocated historic houses to save them from demolition. They have a fund to do so within the neighborhood. So we have worked with them on that before. And I think that there have been early conversations about the potential to do that again. But I'm not sure of the status of that.
Okay, thank you very much. We'd really appreciate getting whatever information you have.
We'll move along to the certificate of appropriateness. I think, Rochelle, this is you.
Yeah. So as I mentioned last time, we will not have a.
Rochelle, can you move a little bit closer to your microphone?
Okay.
My miracle ear is not picking you up as good.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. As I mentioned last time, we will not have a COA meeting this month. The committee is off, which is great. We did have a closed session on November 10th at 5:00 p.m. To get an update on the 713 Oberlin case. That was a closed session. Things for that are still happening, so we're not ready to kind of talk about some of the details of that at this meeting. However, I will turn it over to Gaston now to make a statement for the record.
We're going to put the following statement in the record. It's titled Statement on the Overland Project Appeal from a Decision of the COA Committee. And just be mindful that this part is offered for information only at this time. Please be mindful this information is to inform you as to update on the application for Certificate of Appropriateness COA-0174-2020 for 713 Overland Road. This is not offered at this time as a discussion item. The proposal we considered through the COA process was by Overland Investors LLC to construct a detached house, construct 8 townhouses, install a driveway, and construct a parking lot. The proposal is for 3 2.5-story buildings consisting of 1 single-family house and 2 buildings with 4 townhouses each, with a walkway in between the 4. The project is within the Overland Historic Overlay District. The applicant is Ted Van Dyke for New City Design on behalf of Overland Investors. Jim Anthony is a property owner and a party of interest along with others. The application was considered before the Certificate of Appropriateness Committee at a hearing on May 27, 2021. The application was denied on that date. On July 21st, the applicant filed an appeal to the Superior Court as provided by law, titled Petition in the Nature of Certiorari, pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes, to challenge the denial of the COA application. This matter is passed from our hands and is now in the hands of the City Attorney's Office on behalf of the City of Raleigh. On Wednesday, November 10th, the COA Committee convened a special closed session meeting at the request of the City Attorney's Office to receive an update on the appeal proceedings related to the matter at 713 Overland Road. This information is offered this time as an update only. Disposition of this matter is now in the hands of the City Attorney representing the City of Raleigh. And the City Attorney is Catherine Hill, who's actually on this call and has been consulted in this matter. We just offer that as a piece of information. We'll go on to, we've already received a report on the Lusteron House. The nominations are not, the committee's not active at this time. I have not heard anything from Dorothea Dix in a while, except that people love the dog park. Aaron, have you heard anything on Dorothea Dix that we need to know about?
They are moving along with design at Dix Park. They are, I think, moving soon on an RFP process to sort of figure out plans for the next stage. This is really just on the books for when we need it. And I imagine that some of our meetings might pick up closer to 2025, which is when the city is scheduled to receive ownership of several of the buildings on site.
And our status with that, at one time, Nick and some of the other leaders attended some of the meetings, and I don't know which exact meetings they were. I was there for a tour and a meeting. Are we no longer actively involved as a commission in their thought processes?
This is Aaron. There is a, I believe it's called a community committee, which is not sort of the executive level decision committee, but more of a larger advisory committee made up of, I think, 40 individuals that are appointed, representing different stakeholder groups. And there was early on, when I started with this position, discussion about a potential open spot in that committee and trying to get someone to fill it that could represent historic preservation interests for the city. That's on the larger, the higher level executive committee. And since then, the webpage has changed and appears to have removed that opening. So it's my understanding that there may not actually be an opening. So that committee, that discussion kind of went away.
Let me make a request on behalf of the commission. Could you make an inquiry and find out when Tanya gets back, diplomatically, of course, our interest in being involved at the executive level in the planning of such a property that involves so many historic aspects to the city. It is consistent with our mission. It's one of the reasons we exist. We should have a voice, a place at the table, and we want to request a place at the table. We'll find someone to sit there. We'll bring our own silverware. Janine?
Thanks, Gaston. I just want to point out that I was involved in some of those very far back, I guess, beginning conversations Dorothea Dix was having through an ad hoc committee. I know Nick was on that as well. And I think that's still loosely kind of assembled and out there. I just want to kind of make reference to that in case that's something that just needs to be sort of reignited.
Be great. I was at part of that group. I just haven't heard anything recently. I don't want to be, I always like sitting at the kids' table, but I like sitting with the adults at Thanksgiving too. So I want to be at, I think someone on this commission should be at that table. Because we know stuff and we have expertise. We have.
I'll bring that up with Tanya. I will confirm that the ad hoc committee is just within RHDC. So it's for our members and volunteers as a think group to send, information up the chain as needed. Within that larger committee, community committee, Myrick Howard is a member of that, the president of Preservation North Carolina, as well as Jenny Harper, who is a former RHDC commissioner. So we do have some good preservation minds in that larger committee. I'm not sure that we would be successful at specifically requesting an RHDC member be appointed to that executive committee. That's largely made up of, the mayor, former mayors, developers. But we can, I think something that we might be able to do is convene a new meeting of the RHDC's ad hoc committee just to provide a detailed update of where the park development is currently. And because you're right, we have not had a sort of update informational meeting in a while. So at least the RHDC can be up to date on.
We can discuss this later, but just to make sure the staff's aware that we want to invite ourselves to the table. And we don't have to be at the big table, the head table, but we need to be at the table and not in the side room. I think that it's appropriate for us to request a place at the former, these were people from Dorothea Dix's development team that we met with. And I think that we should have a seat at that table, or at least ask for it. I'm not talking about the higher table of all the decision makers in city council and whatnot. All right, any other questions about that? Now, moving on to public comment. Are there any members of the public here who wish to make comments? You have 3 minutes on the agenda. If you have, I'm not aware that anyone has alerted us to wanting to make a comment. Hearing silence.
Gaston, this is Erin. I'm sorry for the late unmute. We do have David Serksner here, who is interested in becoming a volunteer with the commission. I think he was here just to listen and get familiar, but since he is within the meeting, if you'd like to hear from him, we can make him available.
Sure, and David has been mentioned by Susan as being the non-commissioned volunteer on the research committee, I believe, right, Susan? That was the David you were referring to?
Yes, yes.
And for those of you who are interested in how David spells his last name, because it's a bit misleading for dyslexic people, S-E-R-X-N-E-R, S-E-R-X-N-E-R. Sexner. David, would you like to speak to us briefly, and do me briefly?
Sure. So I've already started digging into your developer because I'm just curious. I met Katie through a City of Raleigh program, and I have always had a deep and abiding interest in Raleigh's history. So I basically am kind of sort of the opinion of, give me a task. I love it. But this developer, this is going to be kind of interesting because her husband and brother own Nowell Brothers Furniture Company in downtown Raleigh. So she's got money to buy lots in the city of Raleigh. So I think there's some neat stuff probably to be found with her. This is my 2 cents worth.
Well, we hope your 2 cents turns into multiple dollars, maybe trillions, and they'll trickle up to us through the work with Susan in the research committee.
Your mouth to God's ears.
All right. Thank you very much for your expression of interest. I think we have your resume or something that we should, if we don't, would you send it to one of us, please?
I think I can't remember what I sent, but I'll send it to Katie. Katie
All right.
wants it.
I think we have it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think we got it. Yeah.
Okay.
And
I just
we've
want to
assigned David appropriately to the research committee. So
have a little
thanks for your
side
willingness to help out.
people. All right. Report of the commissioners. Anybody have anything that they would like to, that we need to know about from you collectively? I see second cup of coffee wishes on a lot of heads, but no comments. Report of the staff. Aaron, you've done a great job today under a lot of pressure. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll hold it together for the rest of the week. So if y'all need something, just email me.
That's dangerous. All right, treasurer's report. Katie Pate.
Yeah, I have a brief report today on the treasury business. There was a request for me to just give a little information about the revolving loan fund, since we have the totality of those funds now free. So we should be thinking about a project or thinking about how we want to solicit people to come to us with potential projects. But a little bit of background, and I think in the coming months we're going to do a 1, 2, 3 on what the past projects we've done are, what those are specifically. But in general, the fund is a total of $275,000, and we're going to have all those funds now that we have. The Lustron House is officially closed and out of our hands. And the use of those funds in general is pretty discretionary, so there's not a lot of strict requirements for how we're supposed to use them. But in the past, we have used it to help private citizens stay in a home and avoid foreclosure, or for city-sponsored projects like the Lustron House. And I think we've also used it for a church in the past, and similar properties. And it's usually a 2 to 3 year payback period with 0 interest. So that's kind of the perk of it. But we've also done different loan payback periods as well, depending on the situation and how we determine that. So I think, we should be thinking about, I think from across all groups, how we want to use those funds going forward. Maybe from community awareness, we can think about if we want to advertise that somehow, or if we want to scout out a project and approach an owner or something of that sort. So just something to keep on the radar for 2022. Other than that, on Treasury side, there have been no material changes to our accounts, and we're still sitting somewhere in the nonprofit side and around the $6,300-ish to do whatever we want with. So that's that. Does anyone have any questions?
Ian's going to give us a quick rundown on the number 12 item, discussion item on 7573 East Lenore. It may be relevant to your quest beyond what we might know right now.
Great.
Would it be possible for PNC or another organization to know of a project that might be we could use the revolving fund for?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess as a group, we should decide how we want to recruit a new project. I think that's part of it. So PNC, I'm sure they have their finger on the pulse of something that we might be able to work with. So it's, pretty good size, 275. So, or we could do multiple projects. I think since we've had the Lustron House, we could have taken on a second project and didn't do that.
Gaston?
This task doesn't necessarily fit neatly under any of our existing committee structures so much.
Gaston, there's an interesting demolition delay currently in Glenwood, Brooklyn that might fit the bill. That PNC has some interest in, and maybe it could be a cooperative project if the owner's amenable.
Can you relay that address to Katie and the rest of us, that if you can, please?
I'll kick that into John's court since he's working with the owner.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. The next item is upcoming meeting reminder. Our very festive Christmas meeting is still on for the moment. Second thing is the bylaws and rules of procedure. My interest in our bylaws has recently been severely invigorated. I'm going to appoint I'm going to join in with Tanya and Raz, and hopefully the city attorney's office. Catherine, you still on the line? Hopefully Catherine can join us, and some others yet to be determined, to look at our bylaws. We have several provisions of our bylaws that are out of date, and they are inconsistent with current law in this, that we have to operate under. So we need to rev that bylaw. We need to get our bylaws in line with the law, or else they're irrelevant. So we'll work on that. And if anybody wants to join a terribly exciting subcommittee on this topic of the bylaws, let me know. And I think Curtis probably should volunteer, but we'll see if he has time.
Okay.
He's like Yoda around here as far as.
Oh,
no.
This is Catherine. I'm still here, and yes, we're absolutely happy to help with that, and agree. So we are here to help.
Well, we like that. We appreciate that. Thank you. Hey, Catherine, just send me your preferred contact information.
Will do.
All right. Social media sites. We're reminded that we have many social media sites, and it would be great if y'all go in there once in a while and poke around and make some activity, because activity is where it's at on these things. Heather, do you have any quick 2-sentence pep talk on how we can help with social media?
Yeah. Each month we try to have a theme. And typically I'll say during the holidays is the best time for us to have engagement, because a lot of people are more likely to engage with holiday specific content. So it'd be great if in like December, maybe after Thanksgiving, when we start doing our holiday themed history content, just look at us on Instagram, look at us on Facebook. Literally all you have to do is like some of the posts, and that will help our engagement go up and help other people see our content. If you want to go even further, you can comment or share. Sharing would be awesome. But again, if you're just busy, just go in and like it. And at least, there's, 12 of us and plus volunteers. If we were to all go in and like every single post, not that we have to do that much, but it would really impact our overall engagement and growth.
Do you see those type items under paragraph C, social media sites, the bullet points underneath there? It's on the agenda. When you get a chance, will you take a look under 8?
Yep.
8C? Could you turn those into hyperlinks and send those to us as a group so that we click on each one, it takes us to wherever we need to be taken, or something simple instructions so we know how to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Most people on this commission know how to do this, but if we had that in one cohesive thing, that'd be great. Thank you.
Sure.
Any questions? Opportunities, other news of other organizations. There are, Aaron, do you have any other than what's listed here? Do you need to remind us of anything precisely?
No, I will just note for the record, had anticipated hearing from Craig Bethel, who is a neighbor of the rezoning case that you heard about today. He is on the line now. The matter has been closed for this time, but just an FYI that he would like for you all to hear from him before you make a recommendation. So for the record,
He's on the line now?
Yes.
Craig, send us an email or whatever you want, whoever you're communicating with, and we'll make sure that we read that, and you're invited to come back at another time and give us your comments in person if you'd like.
Yes, we will definitely keep him in the loop when it comes back to the agenda.
Okay.
Aaron, this is Don Bell. Mr. Bethel dropped out of the meeting just a few moments ago, so he did not get that information.
Okay, thanks, Don. I think we've already got an email from him with his thoughts, so we will definitely make sure he's here when the official recommendation action is on the agenda.
And if you tuck that into the next agenda somewhere, so we're aware of specifically what he said in case he doesn't show up. Discussion items. Just I would ask one call on Ian Cold on this. Ian discovered that 573 Lenore is in danger. Ian, could you just give us a quick blurb on that, please?
I noticed on Saturday that 573 East Lenore is for sale. It's the John Ligon House. Ligon High School is named after John Ligon. He was a Black businessman, pastor, educator. He built the house around 1915, 1920 area. The realtors are marketing it as basically a land sale, and saying the house has no value. The house is in pretty good condition, considering how long it's been vacant. But I'm not really sure there's much we can do at this point. It's listed for over $500,000, so no chance that we can buy it. But it's an FYI. Hopefully someone will buy it and not tear it down. And this house, I should mention, this house is on our potential landmarks list.
Right. David, are you still listening? Make notes. All right. Opportunity to save a house. We're at the end of the meeting, and thank you all very much. Anybody else have anything they need to share with us today? Couple little things in the kind of wrap up, that we learned that we sold successfully the Lustron house and restored the funds to the revolving fund. That we'll be hearing about a rezoning case in the near future involving the city-owned properties as discussed. We've heard from Citizen Bostic about his home that is on 803 Glenwood Avenue, and extended him well wishes and hope deadline of moving forward before January 15th. We approved sending forward the application for historic landmark designation for Mordecai Whitehall House. We've been made aware of our various social media outlets and things we can do to enhance those. We've been challenged to provide one idea for the spring May event in celebration of the anniversary of RHDC and to kick off our efforts to do that. And we've learned that $275,000 has been restored to the revolving fund. We've appointed a committee to do the work with the bylaws as soon as possible, and we have expressed an interest in being at the table for the Rex. Dick's, for the Dick's decision makers, not at the big table, but at the table. Anything else? Thank you all very much. Catherine, it's nice to see your name. Next time we'll maybe hopefully see your face.
Oh, well, I can put it on for you if you want to say hey.
Very good. Raz, did we miss anything legally?
I think you all were in good shape. Sorry, my video's on the fritz, but we'll fix that.
We'll discuss it some other time, but Raz has been busy with our business this week.
Yes, he has.
Among other things, but it's, always happy to help if I can.
All right. Any last minute comments? Travis, baby sleeping? Yet?
Times.
Sometime? All right, everybody. Nice to see you. Oh, Catherine shows her face. Okay. Thanks, everyone. By the way, just a reminder, if you ever want to see how you look on TV, you can go watch these thrilling meetings. They're preserved. The meeting is, we've adjourned.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kristen.
Have a good day, everyone.